Guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Ore. I'm a pharmacist and I share all things pharmacy and what lifestyle looks like for a pharmacist. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for joining again. I am so grateful that you guys keep coming back to watch videos. Today, I have an amazing guest with me. We're going to talk about something that I've been getting lots and lots of questions on. This is a highly desired topic. I'm always getting emails and kind of like direct messages on Instagram and LinkedIn about this. So you definitely want to stay tuned for this video. Today I have on the amazing Ifedayo Akonde. Ifedayo Akonde is a pharmacist based in the United Kingdom. She got her bachelor's degree in pharmacy from the University of Lagos in Nigeria in 2017. She enrolled in the OSAP program, which is the Overseas Program for International Pharmacists moving from diverse countries into the United Kingdom. She started the program at the University of Sunderland. She finished with a distinction and then proceeded to do her pre-registration training at a community pharmacy in Bradford, which is in the north of the United Kingdom. She qualified as a pharmacist in December 2022, so very new. And this is going to be her first year post-registration, which is amazing. She's currently practicing as a community pharmacist in the UK. So if you're a pharmacist who lives overseas and you're thinking of going to the United Kingdom or you want to do the OSAP program, this is definitely a video that you want to stay tuned and watch. Okay, hi Ife, thank you so much for jumping on here. I'm so excited to have you. I always ask all my guests to share something interesting, something fun and different. It would be great to hear something exciting.
Hi, Ore. Thank you for having me. So something interesting about me. Yeah, my name is Ife. I'm a Yoruba girl. So I'm from two different parts of the country. Akwa Ibom and Ondo states.
Cool. That's interesting. So speaking of Lagos, you're obviously a Lagos girl. You moved to the United Kingdom. And I know there's something that's popular. Like lots of people are leaving Nigeria, moving to like the UK, moving to the US and Canada. So what made you decide that you wanted to move to the UK?
Back then, most of my colleagues, most of my friends, we all wanted something better for ourselves. We wanted that exposure. And I would say that was one of the motivating factors for me as well. I wanted a level of growth in terms of everything, so to speak, in terms of career, in terms of finances and everything. And I thought moving to the UK would give me the opportunity. Yeah. And I would say that was my biggest motivation.
So prior to moving to the UK, you were a pharmacist in Nigeria. So what was the process of pharmacy in Nigeria? Like, how did you get kind of to becoming a pharmacist in Nigeria?
I got admission into University of Lagos in Lagos, Nigeria in 2012. Obviously that's like the first process, writing JAM and getting admission into school. And yeah, so in 2012, I got admission into Unilag and I started my pharmacy journey. And pharmacy in Nigeria generally is 5 years. Generally, in Nigeria, pharmacy is 5 years. A few schools offer a certain kind of program where you graduate with a PharmD, which is like a doctor of pharmacy.
Yeah.
In such cases, it is 6 years. But generally, most schools, pharmacy is 5 years and you graduate it with a Bachelor of Pharmacy degree. So I did pharmacy in Unilag for 5 years. After I was done, I did my internship training, which is a pre-reg we do in the UK. Yeah, so I did a 1 year training. So that's like 6 years in total before I was fully qualified as a pharmacist in Nigeria.
So you mentioned that you've done a 1 year training. So did you find when you've done the pre-reg in the UK, were there any similarities to the pre-reg and the training you've done in Nigeria? Would you say that there were anything similar between the two?
Similar in the sense that, I mean, obviously you're training, right? So you're training under someone, you're more like under supervision. So that's similarity, I would say, because in Nigeria we had just the same way we have tutors in the UK, right? We have tutors, so to speak, working as intern pharmacists in Nigeria. We had pharmacists who were more like overseeing us, training, signing logbooks and making sure that we were doing well, to be honest, as becoming a pharmacist.
Yeah. And at the end of the training in Nigeria, did you also do an exam? Like, we do the GPHC one in the UK. Did you have like a board exam in Nigeria that you do at the end of the 1 year training?
Well, we definitely had to write the exam. That exam was just introduced a couple of years ago, to be honest. Before then, once you're done with pharmacy and you're done with your internship, that's it, right?
Okay.
But they just recently, I think it was probably maybe couple of years before I wrote the exam, that introduced that system where you have to write an exam to pass. Like, so you need to pass that exam before you become fully qualified as a pharmacist.
Yeah. And what's the body or the organization that organizes that exam? Like, is it?
It's the PCN, just the same way we have GPHC. In the UK, we have Pharmacist Council of Nigeria. It's called PCN.
PCN.
So they organize the exams for every single pharmacist.
So you come to the UK, you basically have to enroll in a program called OSAP. Okay. So what was kind of your process to doing that? So you decided you want to move to the UK. How did you choose which pharmacy school you wanted to do your OSAP in? And maybe talk to us a bit about what is OSAP. So what's OSAP? So for people who don't know what it is.
Okay, OSAP is the Overseas Pharmacist Assessment Program. So as an overseas pharmacist, if you're looking to get licensed to practice in the UK, you definitely have to go through OSAP. There's really no other route. I mean, I get people messaging me and asking me, "Oh, is there anything else I can do?" Unfortunately, there is nothing. You have to go through the OSAP program to get licensed to practice in the UK. I had a friend who was already doing OSAP, so I could ask all the questions, right? And one of the major reasons I chose the school I chose, which is the University of Sunderland, was it was cheaper compared to other schools, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's still the cheapest. It's still the cheapest out of the 4 universities that do the OSAP program. Obviously, you want to consider the area the university is located. So it depends on each individual. I mean, if you've got family in some certain areas and you want to school there, then that's perfect. You understand? But me personally, I don't really have any family in the UK, so it was all the cost. Look as well, the cost of living in that area. Of course, Sunderland is in the northeast, so the cost of living is not as high as some schools, which are in the west. Yeah. And then Sunderland, I mean, good pass rates, good GPHC pass rates.
Yes. I always recommend, even if there are people who are watching this video who maybe you're home student, so you're from the UK, you're thinking of which university to go to, I always recommend going on the GPHC website and having a look. They always put the percentage of, how many, students have passed the GPHC exam. So for people who may not know, the GPHC is the General Pharmacy Council, which is the body that oversees pharmacy practice in the UK. And basically, they always release the percentage of students that pass that, registration exam. In order for you to license, you have to do the exam. So I always recommend looking at that percentage. And you're right, I think Sunderland has a very, very good track record. They do very well. Sunderland also is a university that has been doing pharmacy for over 100 years. There's consistency. The university has good consistency. So yeah, definitely throwing in some free promo there.
But I mean, the training at Sunderland was thorough. I mean, I've had people tell me, "Oh, I don't want stress. I'd rather go to where I can easily pass OSAP." And I'm like, yeah, it's not just about passing OSAP. It's about becoming a pharmacist. It's about passing privilege, right? So the training at University of Sunderland was really thorough, and I mean, it was really the foundation I needed to pass the GPHC pre-registration exam.
Especially as a pharmacist that's coming from overseas, you want to make sure that, the university you're choosing is able to prepare you well to now transition your mind into being a UK pharmacist, because you're used to things back, in your country, right? You're coming to a new place. And for the students that you're joining, because I know for OSAP, you kind of join in a lot of the classes with like the 4th years. They have already had 3 years kind of learning and understanding the UK system. So it's always good, I think, to choose a school that will teach you thoroughly and prepare you well for those exams, but also for practice. On, OSAP, you talked a bit about the cost of living and things like that. One of the biggest questions I always get is, how much did it cost? So, the 1 year of obviously doing the OSPAP training, cost of living, like on average, how much would you say that individuals need in order to go through that whole process?
So if you have a look at the University of Sunderland website, it tells you how much the tuition fees is. I think currently I saw about £16,000, right, for the MSc. But then the OSPA program could either be done as the MSc program or as the PGD program, right? So the MSc is more expensive than the PGD program, right? So you could decide that you want to do the PGD program if you really do not mind. Because with respect to becoming a pharmacist and passing the pre-reg exam, it doesn't really matter which one, right? You could decide to do the PhD program and you're perfectly fine. But if you definitely want an MSc degree, then obviously you can go for the MSc program. The PhD program is cheaper, like I said. I think it's about £11,000. Yeah, for University of Sunderland. But the MSc is about £16,000. Okay. Other schools are more expensive. I think Sunderland is the cheapest. Yeah. So that's how it will cost in terms of just the tuition fees. Obviously, you need other expenses like the GPHC application alone is about 600 something pounds. Yeah. Right. So it's almost £700, and that's aside the money you spend sending your documents and all of that to the GPHC office in London. Yeah, so that's the cost in terms of tuition fees and obviously cost of living, feeding, all the expenses. Yeah.
Transportation, obviously, I think those are important. But again, like you mentioned, which is a really good point to kind of throw in there for Sunderland as well. Sunderland is quite a small town. So most of the time when I was there at university, I walked to many places. Like, if you live near the city, you can walk to the city. But if you're somewhere that's much bigger, you might need to, factor in things like transportation, cost of living, feeding, and things like that. So
they had a free bus service, actually.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was 700.
And some people, I don't know about other people, but for me, like, there were specific parts of the university. I think we're talking a lot about Sunderland University, so we definitely need to get some form of, to be sponsoring us for this. So at the university, they have different campuses. And for me, I found, because obviously I was a science student, a lot of my, classmates were studying at Murray Library. I actually preferred St. Peter's Library because it was a bit quiet. There weren't as many science students there. I don't know if it's still the same now, but the 700 can take you from different campuses, which is really good. And it's free, obviously. I'm not sure if you experienced the same, but when you were at the university, did you meet a lot of other students from Nigeria? Were you able to build a community?
Yeah. So I always boast about the community I had when I was doing my OSPAP, because I feel like that was what really helped me. Because personally, right from my days in UNILAG, I'm not someone that does school alone. I prefer to read with friends. Yeah. Luckily, when I got to Sunderland, I was able to build a community with other Nigerians. In fact, we had a group where we studied very regularly. Yeah.
Obviously, you do your OSPAP, you finish successfully, which is amazing. So what did you do next? What was the next step? Like, once you knew you were coming to the end of your program, obviously, that pre-reg was coming up. So how did you kind of navigate pre-reg and decide where you wanted to do your pre-reg?
I don't want to say it was a random decision because, like I said, I didn't have any family in the UK. Most people, if you come in with family, you're probably thinking of your wife and your kids and stuff.
Yeah.
And when you have parents or uncles, you might want to stay with them. But personally, I didn't have family, so it was more like I applied to multiple places, got to multiple places, and just kind of decided which to choose, right? So, yeah. And I didn't go through Oriel, so it was going to be community pharmacy for me, right? So I just applied to random places. I got several offers. I spoke to my employers, right? Asked questions because I had heard news about how pre-reg could be very difficult if you don't get a good place, right? So I asked loads of questions, right? Met the tutors if possible, and that was how I and I ended up moving to Bradford and I did pre-reg in Bradford.
I think one extra thing I will throw in there, just for people who are thinking of doing pre-reg, both OSPAP students and home students as well, if you have the opportunity to meet the student that particular pre-reg tutor had the year before and just ask them questions. This is just a recommendation for anyone who's going to be doing their pre-reg soon. Ask them questions. How was their, encounter with the tutor? How about the previous students? Have they passed first time? Was the environment conducive and good before you make your decision? I think it's always good to ask as many questions as you can. For people who don't know, you mentioned Oriel. So what's Oriel for people who may not know what that is?
Oriel is just a system. I personally didn't use Oriel, so I might not have so much information about it.
Yeah.
But it's just a system where students use, OSPAP students use, and prospective pre-reg students use to get pre-reg placements. I think with Oriel, you're going to write an exam, right? So depending on what score you get, you're going to get, so before then you'd have done something called Oriel preferencing, where you would have selected some places you would like to work. Yeah. I think based on what score you get, they tend to match you to different pre-reg places.
Yeah.
So it works majorly for those who intend to work in the hospital, maybe with the NHS.
You decided to go into community. Were you working as a community pharmacist in Nigeria when you qualified?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. What was the immigration process like? Did you have to apply for a visa and things like that? And was that also obviously something to consider financially? Was it expensive, or what was that like?
The immigration process was quite straightforward. So like I said, with the OSPAP application, once you apply to GPHC, you get an approval letter from GPHC, which you use to apply to what school you intend to go to, right? Okay. So when you apply to the school and everything clicks, you're going to get a CAS, right? That's why I said it's similar to student visa application process. So you get a CAS from the school, right, which is certificate of acceptance. So with that CAS document, use that to apply to the home office for a student visa. I can't remember how much it costs, but it's a couple of, maybe £1,000 or so. So applying for a student visa is very, very straightforward. It takes 21 days averagely to get. Yeah.
So that's really, really quick. And I think I'm going to just chip in here for people who always send me messages about Canada versus the UK. I'm very, very, very pro going to the UK if you are, coming from Nigeria, places like that. I think in terms of practice, because you get 1 year to do OSPAP, which is really good. It gives you like a year to train and learn. You can even get like a job in a pharmacy if you want to, if you have the ability to give you extra training. By the end of that year, you then have another year of training, which is the pre-reg year, which kind of prepares you very well. And also, as you mentioned, the immigration process seems very quick and swift in comparison to the Canadian one. So I think the UK is kind of winning here in terms of just like for people who want to get relicensed. I think obviously if you're somebody who you want to come to North America, I've spoken about this in my videos for a long time. If you're looking for like more money and things like that, yes, North America is a great place, but in terms of speedy, processing and getting things done, the UK seems like it's a very, very good place to basically get started on. What happens after you qualify? So you qualified, what happens with your visa? Do you have to apply for another visa? Like, what did that look like for you?
So the visa you're gonna get when you're coming from Nigeria to the UK is a student visa, right?
Yeah.
So that covers you for just your OSPAP year, which is a 1-year program. So switching from OSPAP to pre-reg, you're gonna need to apply for another visa, right? Which this time is called the Health and Care Worker Visa, which is a visa of skilled worker visa route, right? The Health and Care Work Visa is what most immigrant pharmacists use for pre-reg, consequently after qualification.
Okay, so you have to do another visa when you're switching from OSPAP into pre-reg, which obviously means that you have to think of that financially as well when you're coming, because remember during the OSPAP year, you're not working, you're doing full-time study, but you may want to get a job on the side. Now, how does that work? I think the UK allows people to have a job on a student visa.
Yeah, 20 hours. So you're allowed to work maximum of 20 hours a week.
So, my last question for you is, would you recommend the UK to any people moving from Nigeria, individuals who want to come to the UK to practice? Would you say that you definitely recommend it?
Yes. I would. Can't think of any regrets moving to the UK from Nigeria to practice as a pharmacist. I mean, it's not been easy to work in the pack, but I would say the cons are the pros rather way more than the cons. It's been shelf for me. It's been fulfilling for me, career-wise, financially. Yeah. So I definitely recommend anyone who comes to the UK to practice.
Now you have a Instagram page, and you know, you share basically your journey, and you know, share different things about, you know, an OSAP pharmacist and the process. So where can people find you? What's the Instagram page, and where can people reach out to you if they have questions?
Instagram page is called day_UK_pharmacist, THE_UK_pharmacist. So if you send me a DM, I'm happy to help as much as I have the chance to.
I'll definitely put all the information in the description box. Thank you so much for taking the time out to be here today, answering questions and just talking about your journey. I really, really hope that you have more and more fulfilling years with the UK. It's a great place. It's my home, and it's a lovely, lovely place to practice. And I think working in the UK teaches you so much. I feel like so many valuable things you learn as a pharmacist in the UK. And I'm hoping that more people decide to take the OSAP route and basically come and practice in the UK. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
If you want to follow Ife, make sure you follow the Instagram page in the description box, and also make sure you DM her if you have questions. I'm sure she's happy to help with that.